Thank you so much. It's such an honor being with volunteers today, and the energy in the room is so palpable. Before I go on, I think my subject is volunteering and flourishing. And why should we volunteer? So I'd like to take a real world example because both the people are in this room. One is Chandani. Chandani, are you here? Yeah, she's going to be surprised, not expecting me to take her name. So a few months back, I just asked Chandani, you know what, I really need some young people for this kind of internship that I'm running with kids. Would you suggest someone? Now for me, volunteering is someone who volunteers. This NGO vagara is part 2. But a volunteer is someone who says, I'll help you. And it's as simple as that. So Chandani being Chandani connects me to immediately in 24 hours. Now, why does Chandani do what she does? I have no clue. I haven't figured out. We still have to have coffee on this situation. But there are people who just volunteer. Now, another person is in this room today, and that's Isha Sharma. Now, Chandani connected me to Isha, who I didn't have a clue who this little lady was. So, Isha is somebody, and I would tell you, runs something called Volunsphere. Now, Volunsphere doesn't belong to an NGO, it doesn't belong to I don't know what, but she's got this Kida of volunteering. And so I call it a Kida because, those of us who do it don't know kyun kar raha hai, lekin karte ja raha hai. And Isha said in the first call, Isha, you're here and you're surprised that I'm saying all this in public, said, oh yes, I will come and volunteer for you for 2 months and you give me this Gen Z whatever group. She's part of Gen Z as well. So Isha, before I start off, I want you to tell this audience why the hell you volunteer. Because you are now with IIT Mumbai, you have a full-time job. Right? And I just asked you, help me, and you came. So,
yeah, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I have a full-time job. I was a student, now I work. But I started volunteering very randomly in 2025. I started in July, and since then I started volunteering for every weekend, 1 hour at least. And it's going to be a year in a month. And I think I wanted it to be a habit, and if I had to answer why I volunteer every weekend, I think in the first panel discussion, one of the speakers said, why do NSS students volunteer? They want to have fun, right? So one word answer would be to have fun. This is an opportunity for me to meet like-minded people, wonderful people, and make friends as an adult, which is very difficult. But I think in short, while also having fun, for example, if I go for a beach cleanup with Project Mumbai, I meet people who are not Mumbaikas, but who've come for a beach cleanup, for example. When I go to volunteer for a Connect 4 event where we paint schools, paint walls of a school building, I see a family, mother, father, and a kid, all 3 of them painting the wall. And I think it's just so inspiring. So I think I started off just to have fun, but over the year, I learned a lot of things, which may not be tangible or quantifiable, but yeah, those lessons definitely stay in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. So now you understand, in my definition, Isha seems to be flourishing. Okay, and I don't use the word happiness, that's another conversation, because you'll possibly can ask me later on. Now this logo is Kindness Unlimited's logo. And it was created by a volunteer from St. Xavier's College who was 17 at that time. Okay, and this gang who I had worked with said my logo, that means my earlier logo, was terrible. And that's why I like Gen Z, because I'm sorry I forgot to get the earlier logo here. You should, no, it's not at all cool, ma'am. So I said, I give you a project. And it's exactly what the first panel said. Give them a task, they'll deliver. I give you a project, there were 6 of them, create a new logo. And they gave me n number of logos. World class, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, right? And we picked this up. The person who created this, the leader is Shannon Fernandez, I'll tell you his name. He runs Vagabond Experiences today. and he is an entrepreneur. Now, Shannon was volunteering in college in St. Xavier's in the first year, and he was a graphic designer. He loved doing it. He volunteered with Kindness Unlimited. Today, he's a successful entrepreneur. I have tons of stories of young people who just jumped out, volunteered, and made something of it in their lives. And so I'm a believer in volunteering. Shannon was the one who brought this thing of volunteering for young people should help them flourish. And so if you see, there are all sorts of happy things. There's a chocolate, there's a candy, there's flowers. That was his representation of what it is. There's a heart, because Kindness Unlimited wants to do things with a heart, and it's about the kindness and the unlimited. And he tried to explain to us, and we immediately signed up. He knows that I'm ever grateful to him and the team for doing this in 2013. Okay, so the first slide is me. This is 5-year-old me. I was the most highly sensitive kid right through school. Okay, and I tell you this story because what volunteering can do to people. So this is my story, right? I was possibly hauled out for this photograph. I won't tell you when. It was 100 years ago. Okay, and but at that time I knew, being highly introverted, I could sense the energy in a room. Right? I realized that I was taking on the pain of other people, because that's what highly introverted and sensitive people do. And I was kind of aware of this growing up. The next slide. This is me today. Crazy, mad, can work with Gen Z, can stand on the table and dance at the drop of a hat. Okay? What happened is the question I have asked myself over the years, because when I go to school, the teachers don't recognize me because I was a nobody. I was one among, people in school who are the toppers, and those who are very bad get noticed. But kids like us, we just somehow meander through the school system. Yeah, what happened? I don't know. I asked myself, I didn't have the vocabulary at that time, but I realized, again, thanks to family, that every time we did something for someone else and I let that other person feel seen, something happened to me. So we had a family, let's say there's somebody helping in the house and she's just somebody who would come. My grandmother would always, make her sit on the sofa. She was never treated separately. She was given the same cutlery. She sat in the dining table, and she said she works with us not for the money. She works with us for the respect we give her. So this is something I realized, oh my God, I feel happy when I see other people feel seen, because I did not feel seen for a long time. So the next slide. Now I started, oh gosh, this is the logo, by the way. Oh, I thought I didn't have it. This is the logo, which Gen Z threw out. Okay, so the logo was very systematically designed 100 years ago, which was a person taking a stick, which was between selflessness and selfishness. Is there a balance? And Kindness Unlimited's definition of kindness is a balance between self-interest and other interest. It's not your dictionary definition. It says it is sustainable when I look after my needs and your needs. Like, you have the corporate and the college, and everybody said, I have to understand the other person before, they understand me. And it's about that. And so this was always our challenge. How do we kind of create this me and this us? And I deal with Gen Z now day and night. I come from the corporate world, and now this is a passion project, jumping right into doing this day and night. Gen Z's question is, I either disconnect or I connect. I mean, don't ask me to do both. And I meet Gen Z's on one-on-ones for coffee. And so they tell me they are heart out, which doesn't happen in a group. And the reason I feel very happy that they're ready to come on a date with me, I feel so excited, oh gosh. And they really tell me things that they are unable to tell anybody else. And that's my privilege. It's so many secrets that I carry about this generation. which is sometimes very, very, very heartbreaking. Okay? But they are struggling between wanting to be connected and wanting to be fully disconnected, right? They are the very emotionally aware. Oh, you talk about terms, they know all the terms. They are extremely lonely. We'd be fooling ourselves if we don't think this generation is not lonely. Okay? So they are hyper connected and not always deeply connected. I have many friends, and I have kids who say, I have so many friends, but I don't have someone I can talk to, right? Or somebody who really gets me. And as they said, it's the adults that need to change, because unless we change, we won't be able to reach out, right? There's a strong in me care and weak in us care, because they're barely managing me care. Then forget about telling them, go and look after others. And so Kindness Unlimited says, let's balance me care with us care. Let's have compassion for self before we have compassion for others. So our model and our program starts with kindness to self, then to others, and then to the environment, right? And let's look at what I have for you. Why me care is not alone to flourish. So I started researching, because it's like a kida that I have. So as to what is it that really, and that's me sitting here, I realized that self-care, therapy, meditation, sleep, journaling, boundaries, this generation understands extremely well. They know this part of the gyan. Okay? It's not enough. You can still feel alone. And the people in my class who are the most friendliest are sometimes the most loneliest. And I think sometimes we fool ourselves with this outward show or whatever each of us are projecting, right? And we don't heal in isolation is what I realize. And this generation is trying to heal alone and heal in isolation. And that's where I want to draw this whole challenge that we face. So let's move on. I can go on talking for days, and so I've got a big timer there. People warning me, Nirmala, you've already reached your halfway mark. Okay. I'm a TIS student, and I reached to Tata Institute professors, and I said I want to do some serious research on this subject. I want to invest. US has done a lot, but everyone said, hum alag hai. ठीक है, हम इंडियंस अलग है तो हम अपना रिसर्च करते, ठीक है. So we took 2 colleges, Sapphire College and St. Andrews, Mumbai, who allowed us into their campus. Not easy, but we were privileged to be allowed inside campus. We followed 115 youth. After putting them in a volunteering program, like Sam said, for 1 year, we took them on a journey. This time, we took 18 plus because I didn't want parental approval. Right? I said, I don't want, my coolness is too much. Right? So we took them and we asked, can caring for others strengthen self-care? Now, this was the paradox, which said, oh God, caring for others can help you care for yourself. Now, this, I think, for all of us in the volunteering sector, is when the penny dropped for me, and it was very strengthened that we can help people care for others and they will learn to start caring for themselves. Paradoxic. Kinder to others, kinder to self. It helps with anxiety, resilience, belonging and purpose, and this came out in the research. So just wanted to quickly share. The next slide. So kindness refills and energizes you. If you are burnt out volunteering, it's not being kind. Volunteering should refill you and energize you. My kids should come back after a day of volunteering still standing on their head. Right? When are we going next? I think that jadoo we have understood. And I call it micro-volunteering because I cannot push a 18-year-old to volunteering. So I do it in micro-volunteering. Okay, let's start small. Let's take our guitar, let's shake, let's dance, let's do everything else, and then get on to the serious stuff. Because when they bond, that's when I feel this generation is at its happiest. It's suddenly talking to a stranger who they never thought they could, she's not my vibe, But when you realize we are all one another's vibe and we can, talk to each other, they kind of enjoy the moment. And so it's not sacrifice, and that has always been our definition. Kindness is not sacrifice. Kindness is something that you do because it refills you, it energizes you. It's not morally something that sends you to heaven. It's good for you right now. Okay? You care for self, offer what you have and what you don't. It came up in the morning session that I think you mentioned that if I'm good in finance, I help with finance. I'm a photographer, so we never ask kids to give their gift what they don't have. Someone doesn't have money, how does he give money? Right? Next. So this was the research, and the research was titled The Impact of Volunteering on the Mental Well-Being of College-Going Students. Because we realize we are having an epidemic. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's not a sexy, hot topic. It's a serious epidemic globally. But we are the world's largest youth population. And we owe it to ourselves. And I'm just saying volunteering is one method that we all have to make Indians flourish. Okay? Yeah. So this would be not surprise, but the research came out. Empathy, compassion, teamwork, leadership, resilience, emotional regulation. They learned diverse perspectives. All this came up where the kids said volunteering definitely helped them. They felt volunteering was challenging because, they would love to be at home. Every youth tells me, if you give me a choice, I'll sit at home. You're dragging me into this hot sun for what? Distributing chas? Why the hell? Right? So they think the challenge actually helps after they've done it, not initially. It's a catalyst for growth. And they, especially talking to strangers, this generation, I'm sorry. Once you push them, they say, oh, this stranger is just a friend I didn't know. But we all know, but they got to be just pushed there. And it's a developmental. I am a strong believer in this room that you should not make volunteering optional in life. I feel it just must be made compulsory. It's like recruiting to the army in some countries. I just feel we got to do it. How we do it, all of us together, right? School, college, it's beginning, but it just needs to be ki jao karo. No? Next. Yeah. Time management, they found very difficult. This came up. College kids have come to study, they have come for grades. Right? That's their first priority, respect that. Okay? So but the kids who manage it are the stars. Because if they keep their grades up, I always check grades. If they keep their grades up and volunteer, you have a star in the making. Because when that kid goes for a job and he says, I've kept my grades and I volunteered, it's the icing on the cake. So I tell kids, you're not messing up with grades, right? This is an additional thing for you. There's social discomfort, great to have it, because when I went to my first day at work hundreds of years ago, I was very uncomfortable. Like I was just looking out, how will they eat, where's the canteen, who am I going to eat with? All of us have faced that. And if you're an introvert like me, God help you. Like you're just looking out for one smile. So there is social discomfort when you volunteer. And there's emotional vulnerability. You are kind of forced to get that, and all this while keeping up grades. Okay? Me versus us is a great catalyst for career growth. So I've stopped talking about volunteering as, you'll go to heaven and all that. It is going to help you here to be job ready. And we got to look at it as a great tool for job readiness. Because it makes young people, when a volunteer talks in an interview, and some of them have got admission in the brightest and the bestest schools in the world, it's with real world experience. A small thing, how did I get one kachra dabba in Bandra Re? मैंने 20 time municipality में गया, तो मुझे एक डब्बा मिल गया. But that 20 times has taught you what no book can teach you, right? And so I don't tell them change the world, change one thing, yaar. Just get one kachra dabba, learn to sort out. Let's start small. Let's make your school an anti-bullying school or college. Let's start small. Okay, do you wish Yadavji at the gate? He's your security. Do you know his name? How about learning his name? Choti, let's forget about the world. Let's do what we have in our own circle. Okay, next. So, what I suggest for universities after my research, if anybody is listening, anybody is in this room, it should be a structured program with intentional design and trained facilitators. Because you can't leave it to the college system, which is already overburdened. You know, the teacher is just doing it as part of the curriculum. Nobody is really, paying or incentivizing anyone over there. So if now what we going up and doing it voluntarily for colleges is saying that we'll be the mentors, right? I pick up mentors for them. And I know how much kids open to us because we are not part of the academics. They know I cannot influence their grade. And so they are like bindas. So they need a trained mentor, facilitator to be able to look at their own mental health. You need not to have an optional syllabus. Those of you who know NEP 2020 is moving in that direction. There are lots of challenges there, but we're trying to plug that gap by saying we'll do your community engagement or whatever else for you. And you need support systems in place. How many times I've been told, kal classroom nahi hai? Because, it's not a priority, right? I'm doing a reflection session is not a priority. I'm thrown out on the road and I'm sitting under the tree. Right? So it needs to be a clear priority for the educational system in a college. And it needs to have student-led coordination. Gen Z is absolutely fine and great when you make them leaders. So it shouldn't be driven by the faculty. I'm absolutely against that. It should be driven by the students. Faculty should just be around to see that I'm not breaking any rules, that's all. Okay, next. So sustainable well-being, let's start a kindemic, let's flourish together. Okay, if we can just be kind by volunteering, volunteer, get a neighbor's groceries, volunteer, go and ask somebody to teach them maths, right? If Indians could volunteer to just help one another, we would be a great nation, and that's been my thought all along. This is a book I have been very inspired by. It's called Born to Flourish. I was able to attend the workshop that was organized by Service Space, another great organization. You guys should sign up to a world-class voluntary-run body where I have learned a lot. And when you look at flourishing, right, I just want to, so that I leave you with a thought on two different words today. Like flourishing is deeper, sustainable form of well-being that you can do even in adversity. Why do some people flourish even though there is so much going on in their lives? They are doing something daily as a practice. Some do meditation, some do gratitude journals, whatever. But flourishing, happiness is very momentary. So we have to learn to flourish because bad things do happen to good people. And in that, I'll give you a small example. My mom was very serious in hospital very recently. And I would go back and very tired at the end of the day and still feeling okay. And I asked myself, what? And I realized that every day I had decided that I will speak to 10 staff in the hospital and say, hi, how are you? These guys were burnt out. They are doing such a good job managing the hospital. All I was doing was, hi Chandra, what are you doing today? I say, whoever Sharma ji, how are you? How's your child? He's smiling at me, I'm smiling. So those of us who learn to flourish, even in adversity, or there was a small prayer room, I would make it a point to spend 10 minutes alone. You formulate systems in your life that just makes you feel grounded in spite of a huge curveball. And being an introvert, I can't talk about it to anybody. So I had to speak to the only 3 people in my life who I would bug every day. Because I don't have the energy to tell anybody and everybody what's my pain. Right? So I need to pick up the phone and talk to people who understand me. Right? And I did that to be able to cope. Yeah? So the last slide, volunteering, what it gives, flourishing, what it enables. Okay, and we go to the last slide. So you get a helper's high. All of us in this room believe in this, and so I'm talking to the converted over here. You have a sense of belonging. Okay? You have a sense of competence, because imagine it's raining very heavily and you still have to serve 100 meals. You will have to solve that problem in spite of all odds. And I think volunteering really teaches you that, okay? And it has meaning and a sense of purpose. You get up in the morning, you should meet my family. They just wonder this monkey is like a wound up person. Like, there's a sense of purpose. Like, what am I doing? There's something that I'm doing, right? So volunteering, but you have to be a consistent volunteer to experience that. Like Isha why did I call her? Because 1 saal she has completed, right? When you're consistent, then you start seeing it's like any practice. I say the compassion muscle is what I'm building. It's like any muscle requires going to the gym constantly, then why not volunteering? So even to the corporate world or anyone, the question is, how do we get them more often rather than that one good day for change? Yeah. What does flourishing do? You have richer relationships, you have an identity shift. Who am I? You start feeling, oh no, how do corporates introduce themselves? I'm vice president, blah, blah, blah. Is that your identity? Is that the only identity you have in your life? Is there more than that? But when that identity shifts to, oh yeah, I am doing seva, and life is so much more colorful that I'm damn MD of so-and-so, right? It lowers depression. This is proven. And if you can look at mental health, and we find a way, I think it's a great, great way for the country. It slows cognitive decline in people like me, so the older adults, because you're already always thinking of problem solving. And these are like, I just put a few things that what it does. And so 2 hours per week is all, right, which has shown optimum benefit, right? That's all you need to do. The loop breaks if you have burnout. I have seen volunteers who are burnt out. I'm sorry. Doesn't work. We're not coming here jabardasti, right? It's better to say, I want a break this week. You got to look after yourself. And if it's a poor fit, that is a finance guy actually talking to something that he doesn't enjoy, right? The effect is strongest when it's chosen. It involves direct contact with the beneficiaries. So sometimes online volunteering has some challenges. It doesn't really give you that itna bada kick. Then actually meeting people and the chemistry and the vibe that's face to face. Autonomy and rational depth amplify the benefit. And I am on time. I have been told stop. So I will stop. And thank you so much for your attention. Any question? Please feel free to ask. That was like a pause and then. Anyone has any questions? Yes, Ninad.
So, ma'am, you mentioned that you worked with these colleges, and while during the first initial phases where the students were not aware about what is volunteering, how I can be a change maker, what were the key challenges which you faced to set that mindset for those kids? And again, to continue this as a sustainable practice, how are you working to create that particular system in that particular college with the college faculty? I would like to know.
Yeah, so as you know, we've been kind of at this with the youth for a long time. So I've realized I should speak less, first of all. So when I go to pitch, I usually take a successful 2-3 youth with me. Right? Nirmala Mehendale ka Gisa Pita, no one's interested in. Right? So you get some cool guys who has got some cool designations in life. Right? And they speak and say, why did I volunteer when I was in college? because the youth has to see a direct link about if this cool dude is standing here, and usually they are in their late 20s, who I invite, who's already been there. Then I get people to sign up and I say, this is my program, and if you have to be in my program, there is no option. You have to be there for every volunteering I do. This is the difficult part. So I make them think, because I said if I have to teach you flourishing, you can't flourish by coming and meeting me once a year. You have to be consistent in your meeting with your mentors. And then sign up. So in 24 hours, the Google sheet is given and you have people who have signed up. After that, we have an induction, and then I may have more dropouts. But my thing is more on quality than quantity. Because I feel these kids then become role models. Now we have, for example, Andrews is a college we worked with for so long. That is wonderful to see our alumni who will keep coming for our meets. And I'm hoping like to use Doc Seva Connect or whatever to get these people to continue in life, to be a role model to the generation that's coming. So the next year, these guys will come and speak to that batch and say, oh, then they are saying vote for KU, तो मुझे कुछ नहीं करना पड़ता. Feet forward. Someone else? Anyone else? Well, thank you so much for your attention. Enjoyed being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirmala. I request Doc to please felicitate Nirmala Peters.